Learned today is that with the current makeup of the Congress, our chances for comprehensive immigration reform are pretty slim. Because what we've learned is that the legislative process and the political process are what inextricably intertwine. And so we decided as a group in 2006 to form a political action committee called Immigrants List. And it was modeled in some ways after the group Emily's List, which is 30 years old this year. And maybe you know the story of that. A group of women sat around a kitchen table in Baltimore and they realized that there were no women elected in their own right to the U.S. Senate. So they decided they had to do something about that. And so they formed a political action committee called Emily's List. Do you know what Emily stands for, Ted? Any idea? No. Anybody know what Emily stands for? Ben knows. Early money is like yeast. So early money is like yeast. So as a result of that, they picked a candidate, Barbara Mikulski, who got elected and has served now 5 terms. So we decided to follow that model. In 2006, we picked a candidate by the name of Tammy Duckworth. And she was running for Henry Hyde's seat, a seat that had been held by a Republican for many, many years. But Tammy didn't win that year, but she didn't lose either. She showed herself to be a strong, compelling candidate, and she ran again in 2012 against a sitting congressman by the name of Joe Walsh. And Ben can tell you what a great friend of immigrants Joe Walsh was not. And Tammy beat him. And then she ran again in 2014, and the Republicans raised a tremendous amount of money against her, but she won. And now she's announced that she's going to run for U.S. Senate. Barbara Mikulski is retiring, and Tammy Duckworth is going to come in and represent Illinois as another woman in the U.S. Senate, a pro-immigrant senator. So just a couple other quick things, and then I'm going to turn this over to who's next in our program? Amy. Now, we're giving some awards tonight named for Michael Maggio. Michael was one of the people who started this whole concept and got us going, in addition to Ted and Amy, Denise, Ira, a few other people, and we've kept this thing going since 2006. I want to thank you also very much for your generous support. Our goal for this tonight was $40,000. We've already surpassed that in pledges, so thank you all very, very much. And now, without any further ado, I give you the great Amy Nova.
Thank you, Roy. So since this event is named in Michael's honor, I want to spend a few moments to remember Michael and talk about him. So as most of you know, all of you know, Michael was an extraordinary immigration attorney, an extraordinary human being. He was a social activist, an advocate for justice, equality, and the rule of law. Michael was also a realist and had an innate understanding of politics works in America. He knew that support for and ultimate passage of immigration legislation made for strange bedfellows, and he knew that political candidates need money and lots of it to be elected. He also knew that when it came to immigration, advocates needed to look to both sides of the aisle to find support. So when his good friend Ira Kurzban called him up in the fall of 2006 to help establish a nonpartisan PAC dedicated to raising money for pro-immigration candidates for Congress, Michael ponied up, joined the board as a founding member, and called a lot of friends to help Immigrants List get its start. Within a week, IL raised $120,000. Shortly thereafter, our young staffer was hired, and IL was housed in the Maggio and Cater law offices. That was Michael. It was a cause that spoke to him. He acted quickly, wrote a check, offered his ideas, and also offered his time, intellect, and instincts. Michael did this often for political causes, human rights organizations, artistic endeavors, causes involving kids, and for everyday people. As Michael's law partner for 2 short years, I was fortunate to witness Michael's generosity every single day. I want to take a moment to recall some of Michael's other passions. Michael loved good food, good wine, and loved orchestrating great meals, often Italian, with friends and family. He could expound on a particular vineyard and its reserve vintage and advise how to eat Italian food. No Parmesan on the seafood pasta, please. He had a thing for Zanga suits long before anyone ever heard of Zanga and long before Nordstrom's carried the brand. He could discuss at length the nuances of a Cy Twombly abstraction or Cindy Sherman painting. He collected contemporary art mostly through his representation of '01 artists. He once told me that he hoped to start a foundation for emerging foreign artists. He knew about Harry Potter long before parents did. He could name all the best chefs in D.C. and represented many of them. and he even met Pablo Neruda. Michael honed his social activism at Antioch School of Law, where a sign, "Question Authority," was plastered on its main wall. Antioch was a perfect fit for him. Just 2 years after graduating, he worked on Filartica v. Peñarala, the landmark human rights precedent-setting case. Michael loved being around families. His wife and law partner, Candace Cater, who he met at Antioch, took up the cause of Central American asylum seekers. They had built a flourishing immigration law boutique representing a diverse clientele. Make no mistake about it, Michael and Candace were sharp, strategic immigration lawyers, but they also excelled at business. When Candace left the firm now many years ago, she became an advocate and service provider for Latino youth and their families, co-founding Identity, Inc. I think, is Candace here today? She was planning on coming. Well, we wanted to just say hello to her and thank her, too, for her work. Michael brought those same social, business smarts, social and political activism and pragmatism that he mastered so many years ago to Immigrants List. He understood so well that immigration laws are woefully out of date, out of touch, and then when it comes to reform, political compromise is paramount. It's really the only way to get it done. He pushed IL to look to both sides of the aisle, find perhaps unlikely allies, and forge compromises. We were lucky to have Michael Maggio as part of Immigrants List's helm for so long as we did. So,
Thank you all for coming. We're delighted that you're here. Well, it's my honor to pay a tribute to Roberta Friedman. I know everybody in this room, or I hope everyone in this room, had the wonderful opportunity to meet Roberta. And for those of you who didn't, I just want to tell you a little bit about Roberta. She was pretty amazing. She had a tremendous following in ALA and with all of her friends and community. She came from a really strong family background. Her mom's right here, Judy, and her brother Phil is right over here. And she brought, I will say, she brought the biggest heart to everything. She was really one of those few people in life that you will ever meet that you would say, oh my God, she's just awesome. She has the biggest heart of anyone I've ever met. She would give you the shirt off of her back. You know, and if somebody was in need, she would be the first one there to help them. And even if they didn't know they were in need, she would be the first one there to help them. I know all of you know what I'm talking about. She was a wonderful friend. She was a lawyer's lawyer. She was a great confidant. And she just exuded generosity and kindness, really the kind of role model that we all want to be. We called her Birdie. You know, it's very funny. She's just very sweet, and she's Birdie because it was Roberta. And she was well known for her wit, her humor, her intelligence, and her humanity, as well as her great lawyering for the most vulnerable of immigrants among us. She represented a lot of Central Americans early on when the Salvadorians were leaving Salvador, and she was a fluent Spanish speaker. That was her major, one of her majors in college, and she used that to really help many, many people. Not only did she do that, though, she also was the foreign physician's expert's expert. If you had an issue with a foreign doctor, you went to Roberta. Roberta knew everything about foreign docs. I don't know how she did it. And she was able to get things done that other people could never get done. You'd have cases that would be stuck at the service center. You go, Roberta, you know, I got this case stuck at the service center. She'd go, oh, well, let me call so-and-so. And you go, oh, okay, who are you calling? Oh, I'll just call so-and-so. And she'd call so-and-so, and then like a week later, you'd get like an approval. And you go, well, what was the magic? You know, what did you do? She was my former partner. She was Jan Peterson's former partner. She was Larry Friedman's former partner. And she was Mike Nolan's partner when she died at Clark Hill. She really brought a tremendous amount to each one of those firms. She also was, the head of the FMG group. She chaired many of the ALA liaisons, and she also was on the board of the Capital Area Immigration Rights Coalition. So she really left a tremendous legacy to the immigration bar. So we are all honored to be here in her behalf. And the best way we can honor her is to emulate her humanity, her generosity, kindness, humor, and her wisdom by serving others and reaching out to others in true and lasting friendship. And so Sheila Starkey Hahn, who's one of the funniest people you'll meet and has done some stand-up, sent me a quote to end this with. And she said, first, a line from a song by Tommy Edwards titled, "It's All in the Game." And these were on the Billboard charts in 1958, the year of Roberta's birth. And it captures the bittersweetness of having known and loved Roberta, but lost her too soon. Many a tear has to fall, but it's all in the game, all in the wonderful game that we know as love. And the second one is, all of the lyrics from a song by the Champs, which sum up how Roberta would have liked us to honor her tonight. Tequila, tequila, tequila. So raise a glass and let's toast to continuing to fight the good fight in Roberta's honor. Here's to Roberta. And I'd like to bring up Phil and Judy. We have a little memory here from Immigrants List. It says, in memory and appreciation of Roberta Friedman, a great friend, confidant, and lawyer extraordinaire. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Go ahead. Do you want to say a few words?
I want to thank all of you for coming tonight and in honor of Roberta, and I know she would be happy to know that you were all here.
Very much. I mentioned earlier Tammy Duckworth. We are very fortunate to have her campaign chairman with us tonight, Paul Constant. Paul? As I mentioned earlier, Tammy is running for Senate. We've already backed her campaign, and we're looking forward to her serving in the Senate. Next, I'd like to introduce you to the past president of ALA and a founding board member of Immigrants List, Ted Ruthizer.
Thanks so much, Roy. It's a pleasure to be here, and it's a pleasure for me to see all my old friends here. Thank you so much for being supporters of Immigrants List. As Roy said, we've done some great things. We haven't done enough yet because we haven't yet been able to turn the tide, but we're building support for immigration reform congressman by congressman. And, so we're on the path, and it's going to take a while, but we hope it's not going to take that long. So one of the pleasures of my job is being able to honor people who have been supporters of immigration reform. And we're very, very pleased to have Representative Jeff Denham here from California. Thank you. Congressman, I just want to say that we are a bipartisan pro-immigration organization, and it's easier for us to support more Democrats than Republicans, not because we like Democrats more, but because we find in general there's a more natural alliance. There are more people on the Democratic side of the aisle. But we search very hard for Republican allies, and we're very, very pleased that you're one of them now. And thank you. Because as we state our positions, this is really not a Democratic or Republican issue. It's an issue of common sense. It's an issue of fairness. How can we solve the problem of undocumented immigration, get our legal immigration sorted out, restore some due process? These are all the objectives that we think, if it's properly explained to the American people, they will understand it, push away all the demagoguery, and come around in support of immigration reform. Congressman Jeff Denham is one such person who does that. He's Republican. He's a strong supporter of comprehensive immigration reform. He's from the Central California region, Central Valley in California. And we're just very, very pleased to be honoring Congressman Denham today. So please, Congressman, if you want to, let me present the Congressman with a gorgeous plaque here that reads, the 2015 Michael Maggio Award presented to the Honorable Jeff Denham, U.S. House of Representatives, in recognition of his commitment to meaningful immigration reform in the United States.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. That is beautiful. Thank you. And let me just clarify, I am not an immigration supporter. I am somebody that's going to lead the charge. We've got to get this done. It is an honor to receive this. When you're going to be a leader, when you're going to take a strong position on something, you find out very quickly you're going to get hit from the left and the right, and I have. So to actually be recognized for the efforts that we're making is an honor and a privilege, so thank you very much. I really believe very strongly we have to fix this, and we have to fix it now. I want to get this done right, one time, for future generations. It is going to be a big challenge, but one that we need to have strong leadership, not Republican or Democrat, but this is an American issue that we have to solve for our country, for the future of our country, for our economy, for the strength of our great nation. And it starts with border security. We absolutely have to agree, Republicans and Democrats coming together on border security, but that's the starting point. You can't close our border or fix our border or build a bigger fence. You have to fix internal security, E-Verify. We need to know who's here, who's working. We need to have safe communities. We need to have a system that recognizes that we have 11.5 million people that are here today that want to work, that want to come out of the shadows, that want to be with their kids at their community events. We need to make sure that the kids that have graduated from our schools can actually graduate and go get a job. There is not one simple solution to immigration reform. I signed on to H.R. 15 last year because I believe very strongly that some of my colleagues said, well, you're signing on to a Democrat bill. I was signing on to an American bill that moves our country forward. And that's why I felt that it was important, because we have to address all aspects of immigration reform. And I'm ready to have the debate. Left, right, Republican, Democrat, on the issues of this topic. I very strongly believe that you just can't ignore what's happening in our country today. There's nobody that's proposing we're going to deport 11.5 million. So if you're not going to propose that, then what are you proposing to do? Just ignoring it is not a solution. We need to make sure that, again, people can get jobs, that people can actually be part of our community, that they can support their children, that they can actually graduate from our schools and be able to get jobs. And so I'm somebody that's going to continue to propose legislation. I'm going to continue to push this issue forward, and I'm not going to stop, and allow one piece to move forward, just a border security bill or just an E-Verify bill. We have to address overall immigration once and for all and fix it. So thank you for everything that you guys are doing every day. This is not one party or one member. We have to be able to connect with every member of Congress and ask them what their solution is. If we can all agree that this system is broken, then we ought to all be able to start coming together and having a real discussion about what that solution is. And we can't kick this down the road any further. It has to get resolved. I'm hopeful that it gets resolved in the next several months and certainly gets done by the end of the year. It is time for the House to lead. The Senate has shown leadership in moving a bill to the House. It is time for the House to show what its leadership is going back to the Senate and actually have the two bodies work together to send something to the President. Thank you very much for this award today. I appreciate it.
Thank you so much. So it's with great pleasure that I introduce Congresswoman Linda Sanchez from Orange County, correct? Did I get the right county? Well, tell me where your district covers. Oh, L.A. County. Okay, thank you. All right. And Representative Sanchez has been a terrific supporter of immigration reform for many years now. She is an outspoken advocate. We appreciate that, and we are supportive of her efforts, and we want to encourage her to continue to do that. So in honor of her commitment to immigration reform, we are very, very proud to be able to honor her with the Michael Maggio Award this evening. So Congressman, please step right up. Thank you. And this is in recognition of your meaningful contribution to immigration reform.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for coming. Thank you.
Beautiful,
Thank
beautiful.
you. Mark this down. Thank you.
Okay, well, good afternoon, and thank you so much for that kind introduction. It's nice to be accompanied by a colleague on the other side of the aisle who is also a fellow Californian on an issue that matters so much to our state. And I want to thank Immigrants List for their work to fight and not give up the fight for comprehensive immigration reform. The issue of immigration reform is something that is very, very personal for me. I am the daughter of Mexican immigrants who came to this country looking for a better life for themselves and for their children. And they came here without much money, no jobs waiting for them, and a language barrier to overcome. But somehow, they managed to raise 7 children, all of whom went on to graduate from college. And 2 of us, the underachievers in the family, actually ended up in the United States Congress. If you ask all my other brothers and sisters who are business finance people and make 3 times our congressional salaries, you'll know why they call us underachievers. But how did they accomplish that? And their story is not unique. You hear those stories of the immigrant will to succeed and to thrive in this country. And it's a very simple formula. Success is innately in their DNA because they're a group that's self-selected. These are the people that are willing to leave everything that is familiar to them behind and come in search of better opportunity. And my parents, like all native-born Americans here, believed in giving their kids a better shot at the American dream. But they knew that it wasn't going to be handed to them. They knew it wasn't going to be given to them. So they instilled in all of us the value of hard work, the value of education to get ahead, and the importance of giving back to your community. And Lord knows they sacrificed a lot of what they needed and wanted to make sure that we had options available to us, opportunities that they didn't have. And I know that there are millions of immigrant families across this country who simply want the same thing for their kids. And failure for them is not an option. It's not. They're willing to toil, and they're willing to sacrifice, and they're willing to do whatever it takes to make sure that their kids, again, have options available to them that they didn't have in their home countries. Millions of immigrants in this country work every day. They pay taxes into the system. They contribute to our economy. They volunteer in their communities. My mom was a school volunteer, and over the years, she became convinced of this idea that she could actually go back to school, and she did at night. And she became a bilingual teacher. And I tell people that, bravery is raising 7 of your own kids and then going back into the classroom to teach 30 of somebody else's kids on a daily basis. But there's that belief that if you want to get ahead in this country and you want to improve yourself, you got to educate yourself. And anybody who wants to educate themselves should be able to do that without the fear of having their family ripped apart because of deportation. And our immigration system, I just have to say, is truly broken when one of the goals of the system is to round up talented young people and kick out these intelligent, hardworking kids who were brought here as children and had no say in that. Because in this country, we value hard work, and we believe that if you work hard and you contribute to the economy and you play by the rules, you should be able to pursue life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. And all we're saying is these very talented individuals should be able to do that too without the fear of being deported. and I always found it very paradoxical because, you know, the United States is this great immigrant story. Our country was founded through the hard work of immigrants, and it's what helps us stand out from other countries around the world. I just had somebody, German elected official in my office today, asking me about the issue of immigration, and I told her, immigration, each successive wave in this country, is what has made this country great. And she was fascinated because they don't have that history necessarily there, and you know, it was really profound for her to grasp that, you know, we've always thought that if you came, you could get ahead on your own merits. Now, as the chair of the Congressional Hispanic Caucus, you know, I'm proud to say that the caucus has really been a big agitator on behalf of comprehensive immigration reform, and we're working to keep that pressure on, and we were an instrumental part, I think, in getting the president to consider the option of his executive actions. Now, executive actions which we support, and we think, you know, the DACA that's been in place and is working, and the sky hasn't fallen, and the rivers haven't dried up, unless maybe you're in California, shows that it, you know, immigration is good for this country, and we think his executive actions are lawful. We think they are a step in the right direction, but it's not enough because it's not a permanent solution. We need a comprehensive immigration reform that will allow all of the 11 million immigrants in this country to come out of the shadows, pay taxes, and become contributing members of our society. So I'm, you know, forever grateful and humbled to organizations like Immigrants List that is out there preaching the same message, and I want to thank you for the recognition and the award. I served on the Judiciary Committee for about 10 years and the Immigration Subcommittee for about 8 of those years. So I've heard all the you know, misinformation that gets generated about the issue of immigration. It's nice to know that groups like yours are out there advocating for the same change, and that you guys don't always get the recognition you deserve. So thank you for the work that you do day in and day out to try to mobilize people and to educate people about the issue of immigration. So with your help and your continued energies applied towards bringing about a comprehensive solution, I think we can get there. We just need the willing partners to see the light, and it's incumbent on all of us to do our part to make that happen. So thank you so much for allowing me to be here and to share that with you.
Thank you so much for coming.
Absolutely. Take that out of your way.
Yeah. Congressman Denham, do you have another 2 minutes, or do you have to run off? And Congresswoman Sanchez, let's give them both another great round of applause. All right. You both summed up so well the reason that we founded this organization, because we have realized that the legislative and the political process are intertwined. And we decided that we as lawyers had to do more than just complain about the situation. We had to get involved in the political process. And our goal is to see that people like you are elected to Congress and reelected. So thank you so very much for what you've done. We're going to have to close now, but I hope you all have a chance to meet both of these fine elected officials before you leave tonight. And now we've got to go over to the AIC event. Thank you all for coming tonight.